Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're jumping right into the thick of it, looking at the latest in the crypto world. We've got a stack of sources covering, well, everything. Market moves, regulatory chat, some really interesting projects. And our mission, like always, is to pull out the key takeaways for you. Cut through that noise.
Yeah, it's quite a mix this time. We're seeing big money moves, discussions happening in Congress, some altcoins doing surprising things, and even crypto being used for like real world benefits.
Exactly. We'll touch on Bitcoin's huge ETF week, $2.2 billion flowing in. Then there's the whole regulatory angle, what's happening in Congress. And yeah, these altcoins like humanity jumping up, plus this wild idea of using crypto for residency.
It all connects.
Right. So let's start with the market. Bitcoin, you mentioned the ETFs. It's had a pretty strong run, third week of gains.
That's right, $2.2 billion in inflows last week alone. It's showing real institutional interest building up, and people are definitely watching that price, thinking about potential breakouts, maybe even towards $106,000 eventually, though it dipped slightly recently.
Okay, but you also mentioned altcoins are kind of stealing the show right now.
Yeah, it's interesting. While Bitcoin's drawing in the big ETF money, if you look at weekly percentage gains in July, it's often altcoins like HYPE, SUI, PPE leading the pack.
Wasn't there that humanity token, the H token?
Yeah.
I saw a massive surge.
Oh, yeah, that was something else. A 40% jump in 24 hours. It actually topped the biggest 500 cryptos for that period, even while the rest of the market was kind of down.
Wow. So what does that tell us when you see a specific token surge like that against the trend? Is it just speculation or something else?
Well, it probably points to a couple of things. You have the steady institutional confidence maybe reflected in Bitcoin ETFs, but these sharp altcoin moves, they often suggest, more retail-driven activity, folks looking for those really big, fast gains. It shows the market isn't just one thing.
Gotcha. Different pockets of activity. Now, speaking of institutions, Ethereum's getting attention too, right? BlackRock, Deutsche Bank.
Definitely. They're not just watching, they're actively building on the Ethereum blockchain.
Okay, building on the blockchain. What does that actually look like for giants like them?
It means they're likely looking to use Ethereum's infrastructure for their own services. Think tokenizing assets, maybe new payment systems. It's a huge vote of confidence, and that feeds into Ether's price, which was up almost 6% last week. DeFi and NFTs are strong there too.
And speaking of NFTs, Polygon actually beat Ethereum in weekly sales recently.
It did, yeah. Hit about $24 million in sales, largely thanks to platforms like Courtyard.
But Polygon's own token, Matic, hasn't done well this year, price-wise, like down significantly.
Right, down about 76%. It's a fascinating split, isn't it? High network usage for NFTs, but the token price is struggling.
So what's the takeaway there?
It really highlights that network activity and token price aren't always perfectly linked, especially short term. It suggests Polygon might have, strong underlying fundamentals or utility that isn't reflected in the current price. Long-term value versus short-term speculation.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, another market event, Sui. They had a big token unlock.
Yeah, pretty significant. 5.22 billion tokens worth over $150 million. That's about 1.6% of their total supply becoming available.
And unlocks like that usually cause some ripples, right?
Yeah.
Volatility.
Typically, yes. When a large chunk of supply hits the market, especially tokens held by early investors or the team, there's potential for selling pressure. So traders definitely watch those events closely for price swings.
Okay, so market moves, institutional interests. But none of this happens without considering the regulators. Sounds like a big week is coming up in the U.S. Congress.
That's right. Starting around July 14th, the House is set to discuss some key crypto bills, things like the Clarity Act, the Genius Act.
And what's the goal with these acts? What could change?
The main goal is, clarity. Trying to define which assets count as securities, how platforms should be regulated, basically setting clearer rules of the road. And it's crucial, especially when you hear these huge forecasts for stablecoins, potentially trillions of dollars by 2028. Regulation needs to catch up.
We also saw the SEC seem to ease off a bit recently, dropping that Binance CZ lawsuit.
Yes, that specific case being dropped definitely gave the market a bit of a boost. It was seen by some as maybe a slightly softened stance, reducing some of the immediate pressure.
And did that lift other boats? Like XRP, I saw some analysts getting bullish there.
It likely contributed to a general improvement in sentiment, yeah. And XRP has had its own positive developments in its ongoing legal situation, so that, combined with the broader market feeling a bit less regulatory heat, well, it led to some pretty optimistic price predictions, like that 471% surge call.
Wow. Okay, so beyond regulation and markets, there's this real-world integration angle. The Open Network, TON, offering a path to UAE residency, That sounds different.
It really is. You stake $100,000 worth of Toncoin, pay a fee, and potentially get a UAE Golden Visa.
That's incredible, connecting crypto directly to residency status.
Exactly. It bridges the digital asset world with tangible, real-world benefits in a very direct way. It's not just about investment anymore. It's about using crypto for mobility, for opportunity. It's drawing a lot of attention globally.
The whole new dimension.
Absolutely. So when you pull back, you see these threads connecting. You've got regulatory frameworks potentially shifting, paving the way for more adoption, while the markets themselves are incredibly dynamic with Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all these altcoins playing different roles.
It really feels like things are accelerating, intertwining with traditional finance, global rules, even where people can live. The pace is just remarkable. So here's something for you to think about as we wrap up. We've talked about huge institutional money coming in, surprising altcoin action, big regulatory moves, and these novel real-world uses like the Tioniza. Looking ahead, what do you think will be the stronger force shaping crypto's future? Will it be this mainstream integration pulling it into the existing systems, or will it be the power of decentralized innovation pushing things in entirely new directions?